Hey guys, it's time for another edition of the Retro Review. This is the video series right here on YouTube where I review all the Coliseum home videos for you, the viewer. And at the end of each review, I tell you if you should go out of your way to get this videotape or to just skip it. Of course, now that all these Coliseum videos are no longer in print, the only way you can get them nowadays is via eBay or Amazon or at some convention. I mean, there's that one WrestleCon. You may have heard of that. That's coming up real soon. Now, for this, well, actually, let me be honest with you guys. I had been planning on doing this for a long time, and now is the perfect time. The next 4 retro reviews are going to be very special because, number 1, these are not tapes that you, the viewers, got to vote for, and number 2, they all have a special topic about them. So, let's get into this videotape. In 1985, the World Wrestling Federation presented to us WrestleMania, the biggest extravaganza of all time. During 1985, the success of the World Wrestling Federation continued with Saturday night's main event. So, after the successful year that 1985 has been with WrestleMania and Saturday night's main event, how can the WWF get better? By presenting their first ever pay-per-view. That's right, folks. If you don't know which show I'm talking about right now, you may as well go home. It is the first annual, the only annual, the last annual WWF Wrestling Classic in stunning WrestleVision. Yes, the WWF Wrestling Classic, the very first wrestling pay-per-view that ever happened, took place on November 7th, 1985 in Chicago, Illinois, in the Rosemont Horizon. On this night, a 16-man single elimination tournament would take place to crown the King of the Hill. Plus, the WWF Championship would be decided as Hulk Hogan would face Roddy Piper. So, without any further ado, let's get into the review. Now, the actual tape starts off with Vince McMahon saying how that this event was not seen anywhere on television. Even though I just mentioned that this was a pay-per-view event. Although pay-per-view back in 1985, let's be honest, was not that popular at the time. So you would get every match from the tournament plus the WWF title match. So after he introduces it, we get the WWF intro, and we find out the 16 competitors that are in the tournament plus the title match. We go to Vince McMahon. So did Vince McMahon introduce me? Anyway, he is along with Lord Alfred Hayes and some beautiful young lady where they are at the tournament board to show everyone all the matches that would happen in the first round. Now, I'll skip the matches because for those that have never seen this event, you may be surprised at the matches that would take place. So, we go to a segment taped earlier in the day of some of the competitors drawing their opponents for the tournament. And let me get this straight. The individuals draw an opponent for the tournament. I don't know why they don't do it anymore. So we see Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, who draws the one half of the British Bulldogs, Davey Boy Smith, and he says, "Wow, he's a good guy. It's going to be a great match." Miss Elizabeth and Macho Man Randy Savage are next. They draw, well, Elizabeth does, and she pulls out the name of Ivan Putski, which gets Randy upset. Mr. Fuji, representing the Magnificent Morocco, pulls a name, and it's Tito Santana. And Mr. Fuji very happy about that. So we go to our ringside. The commentators for the event are Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse Ventura as they get everybody hyped up. We go underway with the first match of the tournament. Adrian Adonis, not yet adorable at this time, going up against Corporal Kirshner. Now, this is the only match of the entire videotape where the match is edited down for timing, because back in the day, these tapes could go longer than 2 hours. This was an okay match. The end of the match comes when Corporal Kirshner attempts a suplex, but Adrian Adonis blocks the suplex, lifts him up, and hits a version of the DDT, and Adrian Adonis advances into the tournament. He goes on to the quarterfinals. The next match in our tournament is the Dynamite Kid against Nikolai Volkov. This is a match that, well, actually it's one of 2 matches, that if you watch this event, you cannot leave where you are watching while the tape is running. You have to either stop the tape or pause the tape, try to get some food, a drink, bathroom break, whatever. Because after the introductions, Nikolai Volkov sings the Russian national anthem, the bell rings, Dynamite Kid hits him with a drop kick from the top rope, gets a 3 count, Dynamite Kid advances into the tournament. The third match in this opening round is Polish Power Ivan Putski against the Macho Man Randy Savage. Now, this is a very interesting match for the fact that Ivan Putski, who, let's be honest, in 1985 was not that big of a name, but is still part of the WWF and is a very popular wrestler at the time. But he and Savage had a somewhat decent match, although the ending of the match is a little bit weird. Not for how it ends, but how Putski tries to get the referee's attention. Putski has Savage in the corner, and he tries to get him more, but Savage pulls him down. Savage gets the 3 count while he has his feet on the ropes. Meanwhile, as Putski is getting counted down, Putski does this. Instead of kicking out, he points to Savage. You mean to tell me that you are willing to risk getting eliminated just so the damn referee can see that Savage's feet was on the rope? Very veteran maneuver by Ivan Putski. Well, anyway, that gets Putski upset. Putski's eliminated from the tournament. The next match, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat against Davey Boy Smith. Now, I have to admit, of all the first round matches, even though they are 10-minute time limits, this is one of perhaps the best match of the first round of the tournament. Both men get a lot of offense in for a 3.5 minute time limit that they were allowed in. Both men really were going at it, and during the match, Jesse thought that one of them would try to break the rules, but they didn't. The end of the match comes when Steamboat gets hit with the knees from Davey Boy as he attempted a splash. Davey Boy hits 2 dropkicks on Steamboat, and then as Davey Boy attempts another dropkick, Steamboat moves out of the way, Davey Boy crotches himself on the top rope, and the referee stops the match, saying that Davey Boy could not continue. Thus, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat wins and advances into the tournament. The next match, the 5th match, actually is another decent match. It's another good match. The Junkyard Dog against the Iron Sheik. Now, of course, I will state this for the record. Iron Sheik, I think, is one of the best heels, not only of the 80s, but of all time. Just for the simple fact that the moment he came out, he got instant heat. But this is a good match with the Sheik and the Junkyard Dog both going back and forth. But in the end, it was the Junkyard Dog that would get the win and the 3 count. So now we go into another odd pairing of a match. Terry Funk against Moondog Spot. Go ahead, rewind this video. I'll say that again. Go ahead. So, Funk says to Moondog Spot that I know I don't want to wrestle you, and you don't want to wrestle me. Which Moondog agrees. Funk says, why don't, or how about, let me try my Terry Funk impersonation. Why don't we both go out of the ring, go to the locker room, we'll call it a draw. And Gorilla reminds us that if they do that, both men would be eliminated from the tournament. So Moondog Spot agrees. Terry Funk tells the referee to ring the bell. Well, this sort of backfired on Terry Funk because Funk attacked Moondog Spot and he was trying to get back in the ring, but Spot pulled him out and was fighting, and Funk actually backdropped Moondog Spot into the ring just in time for the 10 count, and the upset of the tournament, Moondog Spot beats Terry Funk as a result of a countout. So without even doing one move, Moondog Spot advances in the tournament. The next match is Tito Santana against the Magnificent Muraco. Now, Jesse Ventura talks about how this is a very risky maneuver for Santana being in the tournament, for the fact that he is the Intercontinental Champion, and that if he gets injured at any point during the tournament, he may have to forfeit the Intercontinental title. Now, this match, I want you to pay attention when you watch the tape. At this one particular referee, because this referee must have the worst eyesight I've ever seen of a referee. So, Santana and Muraco are having a pretty good match. Muraco hits Santana with a body slam. So, Muraco gets a cover on Santana. 1, 2, 3. Muraco gets the win. However, Santana's foot was under the rope. But, bad camera angle. You cannot see Santana's foot under the bottom rope. So the referee, instead of telling Muraco, hey, his foot's under the rope, the match continues, just completely ignores the poor man. Santana gets a roll-up. 1, 2, 3. Santana wins. He advances into the tournament. So we go to the back, Mean Gene Okerlund with Bobby the Brain Heenan. Bobby Heenan does not have any of his men in the tournament, but he does have a $50,000 bounty on the head of Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, and will give it to anybody that can put Paul Orndorff out of professional wrestling. Which leads into the final match of the first round of the tournament. Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff against Cowboy Bob Orton. Again, a very interesting match to end the first round of the tournament. And this is a good match. Orndorff and Orton get a lot of their offense in. They probably get the most time, really, out of all these matches in the first round. The end of the match comes when Orton, fixing his cast, his broken arm, hits Paul Orndorff with the cast in front of the referee. The referee calls for the bell. Mr. Wonderful advances as a result of a disqualification. So, let's keep track of these two stats. In the show, we have had one match end via a countout, and one match end via disqualification. Let's remember that. So we go back to Vince and Lord Alfred, and they review the first round, and they look at the second round pairings for the tournament, and they are pretty interesting to say the least. So we start round number 2 with the Dynamite Kid against Adrian Adonis. And I gotta say, of all the rounds, the second round may actually have been the best round of the entire tournament. 3 of these 4 matches are very viewable to watch. Starts off with Dynamite Kid and Adrian Adonis. This is a very good match. Now this time the second round is a 15-minute time limit, so they get a little bit more time to compete. Dynamite Kid and Adrian Adonis have a very good match. At one point it looked like Adonis would win, but he did not. The end of the match comes when Dynamite Kid attempts a drop kick, misses, or actually he hits the drop kick, pardon me. Jimmy Hart gets up on the apron, Dynamite is distracted, he grabs Jimmy Hart, Adonis gets him up with a roll-up, 1, 2, kick out, Adonis goes right into Jimmy Hart, and he goes so hard that Jimmy Hart drops his megaphone, and a piece of the megaphone breaks. That's how good this is. And then Dynamite gets a pin, 1, 2, 3, the Dynamite Kid advances into the semifinals of the tournament. Now we go to the back. Mean Gene Okerlund is with Jesse the Body Ventura. So Ventura says how, you know the old expression, 2 heads are better than 1? Well, 3 heads are better than 1. Miss Elizabeth, Macho Man Randy Savage, and Jesse the Body Ventura. I have schooled Randy Savage. I have told him of the other competitors in the tournament, what to watch out for, what to do, and he will win this tournament. So we now go to the next match, Macho Man Randy Savage against Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. This is, of course, a whole year before their famous rivalry and a year and a half before their classic match at WrestleMania 3. Now, I gotta say that while this isn't their best match, it's still a good match. Steamboat and Savage have good chemistry together, and I like the ending of this match. Steamboat has Savage in trouble. Savage goes to the outside of the ring. He pulls something out of his tights. He goes for a swing, misses. Steamboat back suplexes him, only for Savage to hit him with that foreign object, gets a 3 count, and advances into the tournament. So, we have one semi-final match set. So now we go to our next match. Moondog Spot against the Junkyard Dog. And folks, let me be perfectly honest with you. When people talk about some of the worst matches in the history of pay-per-view wrestling, this match gets overlooked. Why? Because the entire match has no freaking referee. That's right. It's just Moondog Spot and the Junkyard Dog. No referee for no reason. They fight. Dog hits the slam. He counts the 3 himself. They ring the bell. The Junkyard Dog wins. He advances into the tournament because there's no damn referee in the ring. Why has this not been reviewed? It's been almost 30 years. Why has this not been... Sorry. So we go to the back where Mean Gene is again with Bobby the Brain Heenan. I'm not saying it in a bad way. I love Bobby. And he mentions how Paul Orndorff's next match is with Tito Santana. And Bobby Heenan says, I'll even give $50,000 to Tito Santana if he gets rid of Paul Orndorff. Well, Santana has a little bit of tape on his thigh for this next match, which Ventura mentions. So Santana and Orndorff have a good match again. This is like I said, this is the best round of the entire tournament. Of the 4 matches, you get 3 good matches, 3 matches that you could pass by as being watchable. So Santana and Orndorff, towards the end, the heat, the frustration that gets to both of them, they go to the outside of the ring, they fight, it ends up in a double countout, which means both men are eliminated from the tournament. Now, of course, they shake hands after. Now, this is very important for the fact that due to the double countout and both men being eliminated, the Junkyard Dog gets a bye into the finals of the tournament. We'll see how that affects everything. So, the next match after they review the brackets is Hulk Hogan versus Roddy Piper for the title. Now, Mean Gene is in the back with Hogan, as Piper is already in the ring. And Hogan tells Mean Gene that the only way that the tournament has kept him pumped up. He's been watching this whole tournament, and it's just keeping him pumped up. He's excited. He's ready to go. He's ready to face Piper. And he says, if you think WrestleMania was bad, wait till you get tonight. Well, I gotta say, this is actually a decent match. This is a passable match to watch. Why we didn't get many Hogan-Piper title matches on television is beyond me. Even though Piper didn't really need to win the belt at the time, he was the biggest heel in the company and maybe the biggest heel in all of pro wrestling with the possible exception of Ric Flair at this time. So Hogan and Piper have a good match, and the end of the match, Piper has a chair, and then as he tries to hit Hogan, Hogan takes the chair. The referee is down. Hogan gets the chair. He is about to put Piper away when all of a sudden, here comes Cowboy Bob Orton into the ring. Piper and Orton attack Hogan. The referee calls for the bell. And then Mr. Wonderful comes out to save Hulk Hogan and runs Piper and Orton out of the ring. Hulk Hogan wins the match via disqualification. So remember, 2 countouts, 2 disqualifications on a pay-per-view. So now we go to the only semifinal match of the tournament. And to me, the best match of the entire event. Randy Savage and the Dynamite Kid. This is literally, when you look back at it now, almost 30 years later, this is literally a dream match. This is, to the best of my knowledge, the one and only time, and of course if you're watching this, and if you know, you could correct me, the one and only time that the Dynamite Kid and the Macho Man ever competed one-on-one against each other. Now, one of the reasons that this match is great to watch is because of the commentary, especially from Ventura. He's complaining about the fact that the Junkyard Dog has gotten a bye into the finals, and he's saying, oh, you should do 200 push-ups, you should do 200 sit-ups to be just as tired as the other men here. So Savage and Dynamite have this terrific match that's about 6-7 minutes long, and you really cannot go wrong with this match. And the crowd is eating it up. And the ending is so great. Dynamite has Savage on the top turnbuckle. Dynamite climbs the top rope, hits a superplex from the top rope, which stuns everybody. Stuns Gorilla, stuns Jesse, stuns the crowd. It gets everybody shocked. Dynamite hits a superplex from the top rope. And as Dynamite goes for the pin, they're both lying on the mat. Dynamite goes for the pin. Savage does the exact same thing. Hooks the legs of Dynamite in long enough for Savage to get the 3 count, the win, and to go to the finals of the tournament. And trust me, folks, this is just a kick-ass match that you have to see. So, after that, we go to the locker room where Mean Gene Okerlund is looking for Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff, and Okerlund is saying to the cameraman, if you can, could you please stay above the waistline, please? So, Hogan rambles on about how he had Piper, and then Orton came in, and then Orndorff comes in, and they both say that the next time Piper and Orton will not be so safe. So now we go to the final match. After all these matches, we come down to this. The Junkyard Dog and the Macho Man Randy Savage, the finals of the tournament. Again, Jesse Ventura complains about how this is Macho Man's 4th match of the night, and this is only JYD's 3rd. He got a bye. And you can tell in a way at this point in the event that the crowd is getting tired. There's really not much energy there, especially after the previous match. But it's not the worst match in the world. Mean Gene joins Gorilla and Jesse for the conclusion of the match. The end of the match comes when Savage, with his last bit of energy, gets offense in, has the dog in the ropes. Savage runs, JYD ducks, he sends Savage over the top and to the floor, and Savage, are you ready for this, folks? Gets counted out of the ring. Yes, the Junkyard Dog wins the tournament on a count out. On a count out. Although I'll put in my complaints in a moment. So, As Okerlund is congratulating the JYD, Ventura comes in the ring. He complains about how, again, Randy Savage had to face 3 men prior to this match. Each match not so easy. Meanwhile, JYD had it easy. JYD says if you want to fight, we'll fight. Ventura gets out of the ring. And then everybody says goodbye. Gorilla says goodbye. Jesse says goodbye. Vince says goodbye. Lord Alfred says goodbye. And that's the end while they play the instrumental version of Bonnie Tyler's Ravishing with the people saying, Hulk! Hulk! And that's the end. So, what did I think of the Wrestling Classic? Well, despite the fact that of these matches, we had 5 of them ending in either a count-out or a disqualification, this is still a fun show to watch. The fact that it's a one-night single-elimination tournament, which a lot of people like about wrestling, are the one-night tournaments, and the fact that you get 2 unbelievable efforts in the tournament from both Dynamite Kid and Macho Man Randy Savage, especially with that semifinal match, just shows you how great these 2 wrestlers were. Plus, Randy Savage was probably the MVP of the entire show, putting in 4 decent to good matches with 4 different styles of 4 different competitors. Randy Savage maybe should have won this tournament for the fact that as a heel, he had done so many different ways to win it. But, in a way, this is the 80s and it is the WWF, and the good guy has to come out on top, and the Junkyard Dog got the win. Now, why the WWF never continued the idea of the Wrestling Classic, and more importantly, of a one-night tournament after this event, it baffles me a little bit, because I think they would have had a success for at least a couple of years. Maybe it wouldn't have gone long like the King of the Ring did, but this style of tournament would have been successful both from a wrestling fan standpoint and from money point. All in all, this is a fun event to watch, very fun, and you get every match of the tournament, like I said, with the exception of the first one that's edited down, to the very end. Top to bottom, a good show worth watching. And before I forget, I forgot to mention in the review, particularly in the Dynamite Kid Adrian Adonis match. Remember I talked about the referee in the Santana Morocco match? Well, he was the referee for the Dynamite Kid Adonis match, and he ignores Adonis's foot on the bottom rope when the 3 count happened, after the 3 count happened, even when he left, even when he went home, even when he went to sleep, even when he sent his kids to school, even when he hugged his grandkids, even when he hugged his great-grandkids. He ignored his damn foot on the rope. And that's my rant. And that's going to end this special edition of the Retro Review. I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and stay tuned, because the Collector's Series will be reviewed starting with the next episode of the Retro Review. So until then, this has been the Retro Review. So long, everybody.